Hi everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel, and for those who are watching us for the first time, welcome. On today's video, we are going to talk about communication skill as a tool that you can use to become more marketable in the industry. On today's video, we have a special guest who is Mrs. Susiku, our lecturer at Mulungu's University. Madam Susiku, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good that we also make time to be with us and have this conversation. I'm really excited that you actually made the time for us, and for that we really appreciate you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here, and any means to add value to your academic life and post-academic life,
Yes.
I'm available.
Yes, that's really wonderful. Yeah, so on today's video, we are just talking about communication. How can you use communication as a tool in order for you to actually be more impactful in the industry as a student or as a graduate? And we are going to define communication. What is communication?
Okay, so communication is a means that we use to transfer ideas, information, or any message rather, from one individual to the other. Or if you like, even within yourself, you can have intrapersonal communication. So there are different types of communication, but really it's just a transfer of information, knowledge, a message. Okay, ideas.
Yeah,
So that's just a snippet of what communication is. But yeah, we'll talk about the rest.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, in your definition, I heard that communication is just about a way of how we communicate to each other and how we actually transfer information from each other and ourselves. And also, you mentioned it's a media that which is between how we transfer information from a different perspective, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and looking at and you also mentioned something about the types of communication. So, what are these types of communication that someone might have?
Okay, so since we've identified that communication is a process, so information is being channeled from one end to another, or ideas, or whatever context, but mainly we're just packaging it as a message. Okay, so there would be different types: intra, within an individual; inter, of course, this inter would encompass one person to another person, or one person to a group, or groups to groups. Really, it can expand from there. And I think now with the influence of even like social media and the like, you can see how communication can just be a bushfire. So it can extend from just one individual to another, and yeah, so you can take it from there.
Okay. Yeah, from what you have from saying, you are saying communication can be interpersonal communication, right?
Yes.
And also can be intraperson. Yeah, something that yeah, from there. Yes. And you mentioned and when we talk about communication also, is some we can the communication can be in three different types, whereby we can talk over verbal communication, and we can also talk about non-verbal communication. Also, we can talk about written communication. Yeah. So how best can we actually implement these types of communication in our today's activity?
Okay, and more so for you as students and would-be graduates, like most likely professionals.
Yes.
How do you use this tool, this communication tool, in the context of the types?
Yes.
So you are using you would have to develop your skills. Let's start from there. So you develop your communication skills, and this is just talking about how effective you are able to deliver a message, vis-a-vis the different types that we've already talked about. And then you must be able to transfer that message very well, whether it is in spoken, whether it is in written, or any other mode. You would have to be very eloquent, very aware of the audience to which this message is going, aware of the language in which the message must be presented. So in short, you are ensuring that your skill set as far as disseminating information is spot on. So it's a skill that you would have to develop. It's developed over time. I think to say that in a short space, because you have learned what communication is, there and then show off your skills, it would be overburdening, overbearing on that individual, and I think we must be a bit kind with how we expect the skills to grow. Yeah. So it's a growth process, not overnight.
Yeah.
Just to add on what you said, Madam, how effectively can we, or how interchangeably can we use these types of communication when we are out there in the corporate world?
Well, it would go with the situation and need. For instance, when you are applying for a job, most of the communication you'll be doing would be sending out your CVs, informing other people about what your capabilities are, what you have studied, what you think you can now deliver as far as value is concerned. So already the context in which you are communicating is streamlined. It can either be face-to-face, you literally give a pitch, or it can be in an email form. So you present your email, you write your cover letter. You've heard of cover letters before?
Yeah.
I hope you're already familiarizing yourselves with cover letters.
Not yet.
I think it, and with the way I see it, it's really hard to just come up with a cover letter. You have
No,
to
you will learn, and
you have
most
to-
likely you'll be the best. Yeah, you will learn.
You have to think about what you are going to put in the cover letter. What are you supposed to talk about in the cover letter? And it's really time consuming sometimes,
Yes.
like when you to think of it.
So, in short, what you'd be doing in that context of creating that cover letter would be branding.
Yeah.
Branding also has a sphere of how well you communicate. How do you pack what you have? So those would be like your immediate skills post of Mlungushi University. It would be expected that you're able to package yourself, differentiate yourself. How do we know that this is Francis and this is Owen? It's by differentiating yourself from the next candidate, despite you having the same bachelor's. So you speak of the skills you have attained, your different attributes at personality level. So if it's in the communication context, now you'd be thinking about it in terms of how am I layering what I have done? What should come first? What speaks better about you versus the next thing? So you put your best foot forward. If I'm reading your cover letter, I want to see that you're communicating the best about you first. Then as I'm going down, I'm now learning more about you. And even if it's in a subtle way, I just know that, okay, so these are additional attributes. But really what I would expect from Francis or Owen is first of all this. So if I have a face-to-face encounter with you, that would be the first thing I ask. You mentioned that you're a very assertive graduate. What do you mean you're assertive? Tell me more about your assertiveness. Are you able to communicate well? Okay. Why? Because it's something that you mentioned in your messaging, in your package.
Yeah, that's really nice. So in what you are from, say you've talked about the element of communication skills, which is clarity, right? Yeah, whereby you are clear on what you are communicating to other people and what you are telling someone. Yeah, and also you talked about like just having I don't know if I can say an active listening to maybe the things that you are communicating to others. Are they making sense? Are they clear to actually demonstrate or to tell more about yourself or to tell more about the things that you are communicating? So like also communication has to differ from different persons, right? Yeah, it has to be. So how can someone develop the communication skills stuff?
Okay. So your style, I will start with personality. Endeavor to be self-aware. first of all.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, self-awareness allows for us to learn more about who we are, who are you, as far as the attributes that you have, and that will also speak to your communication style.
Yeah.
So there are people who are more confident, okay?
Yeah.
And I think this comes more so with learning more about yourself. So the more confident that you get, you also learn that the more assertive you're likely to be. If you're not as assertive, you're also likely to be passive. You know, information is going on, or people are communicating, people are talking, and you allow yourself to just allow the conversation to go without you being involved. So your communication style, whether it's passive, it's assertive, it's a domineering one, or it's one where you wait until others maybe communicate first before you put your foot forward. You really have to learn from who you are as an individual first. Then the external starts to have influence over you. So the external environment is where now you've come to school, you have learned about communication. It's building on what you already have. You cannot expect that school will just radically change everything. Well, it will change things if you deliberately identify that there's a personality that you have and it's building on to that personality. So you start from there and then you end up building a style. Others have communication styles that they didn't even know they have.
Yeah.
Because they are not deliberate about it. And until you learn that no, this is not working for me, I have to repackage. I have to rethink how I communicate. I have to be deliberate. So you now start to review whether it's your notes or your individual weaknesses, strengths, to see how best can I improve. How can I change my current communication style to an effective communication style? So it's not a matter of just sticking to what you've always known, but being aware enough or identifying enough that no, this is not working anymore. I need to change it. I need to do what works. And to that, I think I can attest to myself. Getting into industry, the first thing you want to do is like just hold back. Let people do what they normally do, then learn from there. But the problem with that is in the long term, if you're quiet most of the times, you will forget when you were supposed to start talking. So it becomes like your normal you. That becomes your normal trend. Yeah, people are having conversation and you're withdrawn, you're passive. But really, you would have to come out of your shell, also show the side of you that you say during the interviews that is in you. You say I'm a very good communicator. Well, it's your time to shine. Communicate so that people are able to understand your point of view, your perspective, and you add value to the workplace. That's why you were part of the people recruited. That's why you were hired.
Very interesting. Madam, I heard you talk of using assertiveness and confidence in communication as a way of developing your communication style. What do you mean by using assertiveness? Yes. What does that mean?
Okay. So assertiveness speaks to a reduction in self-doubt. Let's start from there. Self-doubt, certain complexes like inferiority complex, for instance, it can eat into your confidence or assertiveness. Your likelihood of speaking with conviction. Because when you speak with minimum conviction, like the least conviction, yourself, you don't even believe in what you're saying. Who else should believe in what you're saying?
No.
So assertiveness is not being bullish, but it's speaking to you being you understand what you're saying, you believe what you're saying, and you're trying to convince others about what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that is key. It's key for the workplace. Because one of the things that I have learned, even from a medical perspective, I've learned that, for instance, if a doctor tells you that you are not too well, right now you are suffering from malaria, and the doctor doesn't believe it's malaria as a diagnosis, do you believe it's malaria once you're told?
No.
No. honestly speaking, I'm going for a second opinion, I'm going for a third opinion from another doctor.
Yeah.
Just on that basis, because there's no assertiveness from who has prescribed this or who has diagnosed this. But if you heard it from someone who is convinced, they share with you your results, for instance, and tell you when the results come out this way, it means that you're positive for this or you're negative for that. And that implies you're suffering from this. Almost outrightly, even your Google search will tell you that, the message was clear.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what you're suffering from. Yeah. So you're likely to believe that level of communication. So assertiveness is key.
Yeah.
It's very, very important. Yeah.
Removing low esteem.
Yes,
Building confidence.
Yes, building confidence. And how you build confidence is by first of all believing in yourself. Believing in yourself will take understanding who you are. So it's not an abstract thing. You don't know who you are, but you want others to believe in who you are. You are confused. Yeah, it will cause a lot of confusion.
Yeah. And I heard you also mentioned something like how you can actually build, how you can develop the communication styles. It's about getting to know ourselves, or getting to know yourself. What influence does when we talk of introvert and extrovert plays plays like what influence does it have on us identifying or developing our interpersonal styles?
Communication skills.
Yeah. So that's a very, very interesting question. Introversion, extroversion. Quick note. In your academic life, have you ever known the answer to a question and then you ask someone else? Rather, you tell it to a friend that they answer on your behalf.
I usually do that.
So let's just start from there. So starting from there, it's already you sharing that no. I think I'm not the best one to speak. You speak because you are more expressive. Identifying that the person you want to speak on your behalf is more extroverted than you are, most likely. That's why you're identifying them to share. And what that does is, just as that behavior is already groomed from school, really, you're likely to see it in the workplace. You'll probably have a colleague or two that, you understand each other and you share information. When questions are asked, what do you think? What do you propose? You're likely to tell a colleague to say, please share this proposal because I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And honestly speaking, introversion it's a personality, but it's one where for purposes of sharing your thought process, you would have to be expressive. You would have to come out of your shell, and that takes a lot of pushing. It takes a lot of work, deliberate work. So you would have to, whether it means practicing in your room on how to talk, on how to speak up, looking in the mirror and just seeing how you talk.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah, talking to yourself. All those are means that you can use to speak better. Okay? And in a way, the beauty is these personalities, when it comes to writing, I think we can all write, whether you're introverted or extroverted, you would still be able to self-express in written communication. So at least in that context, it kind of cancels out. But when it comes to physical sharing, face-to-face, there's some growth that needs to happen for introverts. There is no such thing in the workplace as I am shy. I am shy will not do anything for you. Yeah.
So guys, if you're an introvert, please start practicing on how to communicate effectively. Okay, there are different tools that you can use. Talk to yourself in the mirror or something, and encourage yourself on that. Right?
And if permitted, allow me to also share that it's most introverts that will also suffer panic attacks.
Yeah.
Because when you're put on the spotlight, you kind of feel like everyone is looking at me. What am I saying? Am I saying it right? Am I? So, like Owen is saying, please look in the mirror, speak, practice whatever you're going to say. Time and again, deliberately put yourself in situations that allow you to share.
Sure.
And you can start with people you're comfortable with
Mhm.
before you go where you're kind of scared.
Mhm.
Okay, start with your family members. Tell them, I'm having a presentation, can I present to you, can I speak on this to you?
Mhm.
That way you are exercising your expression muscles, if I can say that.
Mhm.
That allows for your body to kind of get into form. It's slowly building up to what could be.
Mhm.
Okay, and it's a good way to practice. Yeah, we don't want the panic attacks.
Have you ever had a panic attack?
No, I usually.
I have had colleagues that
Oh.
have panic attacks before, and it's not fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really not fun. You know, it's something that most of the time we also experience that.
Yeah.
Like the way I was experiencing right now, when before we even started making this video, I was telling myself, I'm excited. I
Yeah.
was trying to kill the
Yeah.
panic self. Yeah, and just to be sure we've understood what you are from saying when it comes to developing our communication styles. You talked about identifying the strength on where you are confidence, and also identifying the weaknesses when it comes to communication, and also just touched on how well you are able to adapt to the environment that you are to the people that you are communicating to, or to the audience that you are communicating to.
Yeah.
And just a skill that we also have to use as in when we talk of verbal communication as a skill. Yeah, so looking at that, like what tips can you actually give us in order for us to actually demonstrate the verbal communication skill to the public?
Okay. So verbal communication, the tips.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses. Maybe let me start from there as I share the tips.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of strength,
Mm-hmm.
for your strengths, are you able to ask for feedback? Are you the type to ask for feedback whenever you are communicating?
Mm-hmm.
Are you the type to actively listen? Active listening, I hope we get to talk about it more in detail.
Yeah.
It's I think, and the beauty of the entire episode or session is that when you talk of communication, I think we all think we can communicate because we've done it from the time, let's say what, you were 2 years, you started talking.
Yeah.
So the assumption is that you know how to communicate, and worse, verbally, we all think we know how to communicate. But the truth is, to effectively communicate is a process, and it's a process that we need to learn the bits and pieces. So when it comes to strengths, we must ask ourselves, are you able to actively listen when others are speaking? Eliminating the thought of, let me answer, or how will I answer once this person asks. So active listening will involve listening or hearing and understanding every part of the conversation before you respond.
Yeah.
So that is key. Then also to this, in terms of weaknesses, are we quick to be defensive? There's a tendency to want to just, defend and defend and defend. Well, at certain times, if you're in a conflict situation, you may end up doing that, and it will still be negative. The implications will still be negative. So at no point is defensiveness really positive.
Yeah.
It must always take us to a place where we want to learn more. The only way you learn is by being quiet, so you can learn. Yeah. So the strengths are where we should be really rooting for. Your ability to ask for feedback, your ability to be clear. How clear are you? How concise is your messaging? Earlier I talked about branding. I hope you've noticed that some of the most memorable brands are the most simplistic ones.
Yeah.
The more simple it is, the more likely it is that you'll remember it. But if you're going to say too many things or write too many things, there's a likelihood that your conciseness is going to be reducing. So you want to make sure that your message is simple and crisp. It's just straightforward. I know we have kind of grown in a space where you feel the more I say, the more it looks like I know. But really, the more it takes away from your ability of showing that you know. So you want to keep, even your sentences, I encourage that we keep our sentences back to the primary school sentence structures, where you knew you had a subject, you had a verb, you had, keep it that way. Because the more you say and then, and then you want your full stop to come, I don't know, 3-5 lines later on, you are overdoing it. So the message becomes such a run on, and then it takes away from your precision and conciseness. So let's keep it simple.
That's really wonderful. That's really wonderful. That's really interesting. I was even having a heart attack right now. Just trying to to be more active when like listening to what you are saying, and also not just holding myself not to respond to what you are saying. And in my head I was busy like contradicting to the idea, should I respond or should I not respond?
Okay, so putting it into practice also.
It starts now.
It starts now.
Yeah, so that's really nice. Yeah. And
I think we earlier we discussed about the different types of communication, and we mentioned verbal communication. I believe verbal communication is the one which is mostly effective in the diaspora, there in the working environment, and I believe you have to have the public speaking and presentation tips as a student or as an employee or as anyone who wants to interact, and you also have to be effective in how you are communicating. Yeah, and what can you add on when it comes to verbal communication skills out there in the industry?
Okay, so verbal communication skills in the industry, it's a serious challenge for those who are not exposed to speaking. For those who are exposed, I think they're almost in luck. It comes almost like it's a natural for them. So I'll give you an example. I have a colleague who works a very good job. However, time and again when we have conversations, he's constantly sharing how he has challenges sharing his ideas. And one of the reasons for that, the challenge of sharing the ideas, one of the reasons we've identified is background. So where he came from or how he grew up. It's a homestead where you kind of not allowed to share your ideas. So already you're, like we were speaking earlier, your confidence levels, you're already coming from a home which doesn't believe what you say. Or certain times you're accused that, you're the one who did this. And the more you say no, no one really believes you. So you also have this issue of growing up not being expressive. Whatever I say to you, just take it. So it has gone with him even in the workplace. As far as understanding his work, doing it well, he's very, very good. And it also takes, again, mentors. If you have people around the workplace who are willing to, rather, they have identified the potential in you and they are willing to help you get out of your shell. Because this is where mentorship becomes key also. No, I haven't yet touched on that. But it's just important to acknowledge that you can have physical mentors who help you, and you can have abstract ones by reading their books, for instance. If you read a book, already you are being mentored by the writer, if you allow it to change your life. So from that context, I have observed that he has taken deliberate moves, sometimes to join groups like Toastmasters. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Yeah, we have.
Toastmasters, they I hope I'm describing them right, but they do have interactions concerning public speaking.
Yeah.
So they'll have different activities that allow people to publicly speak. They can ask you randomly to share a pitch in front of an audience, okay, all in an effort to help you get out of your shell. So why is he doing that? Because he has observed that in the workplace, his communication skills are negatively impacting his output. Because you see, the only way that you will grow, because remember that once you're hired as a graduate, yes, there's going to be a learning curve that we are going to expect from you, that you satisfy this curve. And once you're out of that window, we expect that now the value that you're putting is above and beyond. Because that's what you promised during the interviews, remember? You said, for me, I can do this, I can do that, I can do, okay? So he's already out of that bracket. He's at managerial level. At managerial level, it is expected that now you can share ideas clearly for everyone to understand without you panicking. You're able to give out instructions clearly, no ambiguity whatsoever, no two-sidedness. So your mind and your language must be in tune. They must be speaking together. Okay, and as much as possible, especially in the corporate world, avoid too much jargon. Maybe when you're among your peers and they're speaking the same language, or for instance, you guys accounting, maybe there, okay, because you'll be throwing the jokes around and everyone understands. But when you're speaking to a broader audience and you want your message to be more appealing to a broader audience, speak in more simplistic language as much as possible. Because then you're able to share your message to a wider audience than just those who understand.
Wow. I think I don't even know what what I can what I can actually add to that. Yeah, and with everything that has been said here, we can also link everything to how you present yourself while you are communicating to other people, while you are communicating to yourself. And this is a known factor that our body language, our non-verbal communication has to be in line with what you are trying to communicate to others, or what you are trying to make other people understand. For example, if the way I'm actually speaking, if my body language is awkward to say, it's not really symbolizing what I'm trying to say, it's really hard for people to understand it. So how can we actually develop how can we best align our body language to how we are to the message that we want to communicate?
Okay, so body language and your message. Start by studying your message. What are you trying to put across? Okay, know what the message is. Once you have a clear understanding of it, assimilate it. The beauty about, again, your body and how you were framed is the message speaks to your mind, to your heart, and it allows for your body now to express. You will not express anything outside of context. I bet in your lives you've already experienced before people telling you congratulations, but they don't look like they're saying congratulations.
Congratulations.
Okay. Yeah, you guys have been getting clear passes for a long time, isn't it? Yeah. So each time you get that, I think you've heard people say congratulations. But certain times you have heard it, whether it was in their tone or their facial expressions or their entire body and how it's speaking. You were able to tell whether they were genuinely saying congratulations or they were not. Why? Because the message is coming out, yes, but the body has not yet felt that message. So communication is not just so abstract as you think. It's far away from who you are as you express yourself. You are expressing yourself in light of also how you feel. It's in tune. So it's keeping both your body, mind, and soul together. There's no way you're saying, I'm advocating for this, yet you're doing another thing. You'll be in a confused state. So it's important that we keep our non-verbal cues in check. And how you keep them in check is by learning from others. For instance, in our Zambian culture, you have to learn what is appropriate for our Zambian culture. Okay? Or if it's in the corporate world, you would have to learn what is appropriate for that corporate organization that you're eyeing. What is appropriate there? What do they consider to be important? For instance, generally speaking, corporate world expects you to be, one, like we said earlier, assertive. Two, if you're assertive enough, it means you'll be able to also maintain a level of eye contact. But imagine, like I was saying earlier, your confidence levels are nil. How do you look at someone's face? Later on, look into their eyes. And really, the eye contact, from what I have learned over the years from other gurus, is that you want to avoid looking directly into someone's eyes, because then it's like you're a weirdo. Why are you looking into my eyes? So what they've said, or at least recommended, is that you must aim for the middle part of their eyes, and or at least the tip of the top of their nose, but somewhere closer to their eyes, as opposed to directly in their eyes. Okay. Now you see, like, that piece of information takes research. It takes knowing. It takes also testing it and seeing, does it work or it doesn't work. So as far as tips, for instance, right now we can talk of how should you put your arms. Let's say you go for an interview or you're eating at a dining table. Should you put your arms up? Should you put them down? So there are different etiquettes appropriate for different situations. So it really requires you understanding what messages you're sending, or what message you're sending, understanding the situation, and then you pick it up from there. But the truth of the matter is, it would be wrong to think that the way you communicate now is appropriate for all manner of situations. I think that would be naive. So to get out of that space, we must free ourselves, learn and relearn, learn and relearn. Yeah. There's nothing like, I learned last semester, I learned 2 years ago. Keep an open mind, allow yourself to keep learning. Yeah. So, non-verbal cues.
And I think I'm just from them right now, because personally, when I'm speaking to someone, I like to look directly into their eyes.
That's exactly what I'm doing now. Like, I'll be looking at
or at least use their eyebrows, like the middle part of their eyebrows. It still looks like you are looking into their eyes. The important thing is, I think, for us to maintain the eye level, because as you communicate, you want to get the attention of the other person. If they are not giving you any attention, again, they lose you. And this is something that you guys also suffer from. Gen Zs, your attention span is shorter, and your desire for devices is above and beyond. So someone is talking to you, you want to be on your phone, you want a distractor. I've heard before, you guys would be on WhatsApp, and then you're also cross-checking Facebook. When you receive a message back, then you go back, then again you go back to Facebook. Like, you just can't be without the devices. So let's try to increase our attention spans. They allow us to understand better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the verbal communication aspect and the non-verbal communication skills. Now, I'm sure many times when you're applying for a job, you are supposed to you're supposed to address it to someone. So how can written communication skills be implemented for effective communication in the aspect of you trying to look for, you writing to an employer, say you want for a job? So how can you effectively
write? Okay. Effective writing, thank God, was already taught in your primary school. You were told that you needed a salutation, that you needed your main body, and you needed to conclude. Honestly speaking, that has never changed. It hasn't changed, and I don't think it's going to change. It's a classic. So it's about us understanding what an introduction looks like, what a main body looks like, what a conclusion looks like. So as you begin your writing, whether it's email or letter or whichever, you understand that you would need to share dear whoever you're writing to. Okay. And then you share your subject. Why are you writing? Okay. And again, your subject very concise, to the point. Okay. Using the main keywords that you need to use so that the person knows that this is just not a greeting. Again, if it's a greeting, you can say reference, greetings, a subject, greetings, I'm greeting you.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
You know, so that the person knows.
Mhm.
Or if it's employment, again, you tell them, I'm applying for this. Or if there's no position that was advertised, you can say this is unsolicited application, so that they know that they are not applying for a particular position. They are just, whatever is available with regards to my qualifications. Okay, I'm available for that. So you give that, you write your subject, you give an introduction of who you are. I am so and so. And it's actually also high time that as you graduate, you become used to saying who you are. I think our society doesn't do much as far as self-introductions. It's as if you are blowing your own horn, like, don't do that. But I like the fact that with the coming of LinkedIn, if you observe the app, it's literally people blowing their own horns.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah.
You are branding, you're marketing yourself, you're packaging yourself, you're also creating a trace. Like, people are able to trace you. When did you start? Where did you start from? Who are you? So we need to become very comfortable with saying, I am this person. I have done this at this. Okay? I qualify to do this and that. In your main body, you can state about how you have acquired skills, you've acquired knowledge, which you want to share with the organization, and you also want to use it to build yourself. So your communication in that light shouldn't just be about what value you're taking to that organization, but also how working with them or doing business with them will also add value to you and allow you to develop. Because it's supposed to be a very symbiotic relationship where we are feeding off of each other, not one-sided.
Yeah.
So as much as possible, you want to do that in your main body. And then, of course, based on what your introduction was, what your aim was, what was the objective of this message, you must be able to conclude. So yeah, you conclude and you bid your farewells. Again, you give your salutations, warm regards, or sincerely, faithfully.
Yeah.
The same way we were taught. And that was primary school.
You forgot
Correct
what
me
was
if I'm wrong.
after
If
primary.
this wasn't primary school, then early basic school,
Yeah.
8 or 9. But it was taught early enough. It's just that I think in our life we usually think that whatever we were learning previously is not as important as what we're learning now. But
Yeah.
really, it's a build-up.
Yeah.
It's a build-up. And that's why you must keep your notes after graduate.
Yeah.
And to think of it, I think it has really, for me, it has really costed a lot. Like, just to think of to say, once I'm done with whatever I'm learning, has to remain. It has really costed me, whereby, like, you are doing something that is related to what you are learning, and you can't retrieve the information, and it's really hard to retrieve the information when you don't have any mean of going through what you learned.
Yeah.
So, and just talking about when we're talking about the communication, you can't really just talk about communication and verbal communication, non-verbal communication. We also have to talk about the listening, or active listening. Yeah, which is it's a skill that we also need to develop.
Yes.
In order for us to be listening to understand, not listen to respond. Yeah. So how can we develop the skill of active listening?
So you observe that active listening also ties very well with non-verbal communication. In the light that as you listen, the speaker is looking out for certain cues from you. Okay. Are you nodding your head? Are you shaking your head? How are your hands positioned? Okay. It's speaking to whether or not you're listening. Okay. I think time and again you've heard speakers tell you, are you paying attention? Are you listening to what I'm saying? And the reason why they're saying that or asking those questions is because they believe you are not actively listening.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they are done speaking also, have you observed questions like, rather comments like, give me a question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why most people fail to ask questions is because they are not actively listening. You can only ask or give feedback, constructive feedback, if you were listening. So active listening is something that we must all endeavor to do. We must, I was going to say clean our ears, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. We must clean our ears so that we can effectively hear,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a start point.
Mm-hmm.
You must be able to hear before you comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm going back to your primary school.
Yeah.
You remember comprehension?
Yeah.
Yeah, people read stories, or you went in front of the class, you read a story,
Mm-hmm.
and immediately after that you were asked, so what was Mary doing in the story?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I have to go back. What was John doing? It's because we were not comprehending.
Mm-hmm.
We heard, but we didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So for actively listening to be successful, to be effective,
Mm-hmm.
we must clearly hear. After we've heard, we must now connect the dots.
Mm-hmm.
That logical aspect,
Mm-hmm.
our special paper 2, special paper 1,
Mm-hmm.
the logical aspect must also take place.
Mm-hmm.
Tie the stories together. How did one move from the village going to town?
Mm-hmm.
How did this person move from home going to university?
Mm-hmm.
Tie the stories. And you also observe that this is why, to promote active listening in a conversation, most people use stories. You've heard of storytelling or narratives,
Mm-hmm.
or even giving questions maybe at the start of a conversation, or even at the end,
Mm-hmm.
some call to action, you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are they doing that? Because they want you to be involved. Otherwise, once communication, with a person conversing, but the communication is one-sided, it goes monotonous on on one end,
Mm-hmm.
really it loses its value, it loses its taste.
Mm-hmm.
So active listening is key, and we need it. It's not an option for communication. It's a must.
It's a must.
It's a must, whether we like it or not. There's nothing like, no, me, I don't know, I don't listen well. You will have to listen well.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that you take on instructions. It's the only way that you take information. Because once you take a piece of information or a message,
Mm-hmm.
which you did not understand, you're likely to misconstrue it. You may misinterpret it.
Mm-hmm.
You may misshare it. So what you are going to do with it will be most likely abuse. You will not use it the way it was supposed to be used.
Yeah.
You are likely to use the information in a wrong way. So it's important, therefore, that we try as much as possible to actively listen.
Mm. Yeah. Wow. 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 I think let me just give myself a minute to actually just comprehend everything that has been said here, and just to connect the dots in as much as we are talking about communication and active listening. It's really something that we all must develop in order for us to be heard, in order for us to communicate or to transfer the information to someone. Yeah. And it's something that we should also work on a daily basis, because communication it's a big thing that we need to actually do, and the skill has to be developed every day. You have to work on it every day, every minute, every second, and every time.
Except when you're sleeping.
No, even if you are sleeping, you can be talking to yourself in the head.
You want to connect the dots in the dreams.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we've heard what communication is. As she shared, communication is just a transfer of information to one person, or it can be on a personal level. Yeah. And we've also heard the types of communication, which are verbal communication, non-verbal communication, and also written communication. And we've heard on how we can use this to our own advantage, on how we can actually be clear of what you are saying or what you are communicating to other or what you are transferring to other. So I think I'll end the conversation here, and I would like to just ask one question, and this question is really something that I was looking forward to ask. Something that I was looking forward to ask, even though I was saying I'm excited just to kill my, my anxiety. But right now I think I'm in the moment. Yeah. So, not what is the advice that you can give to a student or someone who is someone who has already graduated or someone who's already in the industry on how they can utilize communication skills to their own advantage?
Okay. So since we're coming to the close,
Yeah.
let me just highlight that all professionals,
Mhm.
well, anyone alive, not even say all professionals, anyone alive really genuinely needs communication. So developing communication skills is a must. We use communication, so the skills become very, very key.
Mhm.
Okay, it's just not understanding the tool, but we must understand how to use the
Yes,
tool.
yeah.
So that's the skills part.
Mhm.
The beauty about this is that you do not need the confines of a class
Mhm.
to learn the skills. I think
Mhm.
that's like an added advantage.
Mhm.
So you will learn over your lifetime. You learn, relearn. And it's again, that process is something that you must adapt to.
Mhm.
Training yourself for learning and relearning,
Mhm.
so that you give yourself enough grace to say, I did not know better.
Mhm.
Now I can, learn a new thing.
Mhm.
Now, as far as yourselves as students or would be prospective employees or entrepreneurs, I hope entrepreneurs are also coming up.
Yes.
Yeah. You will need communication. Okay. And how you use it to harness better opportunities will be how you structure, how you package,
Mhm.
how you send your message out there.
Mhm.
As long as you keep quiet, when I say keep quiet, I don't mean just talking, even in terms of writing.
Mhm.
As long as you keep quiet, no one will know what your thought process is.
Mhm.
The only way people know the value that you hold is if you allow for you to speak, both in spoken and in writing.
Mhm.
You guys have, you are living in a beautiful time. You have AI at your disposal.
Mhm.
You have social media platforms at your disposal that also allow you to share what is in your mind, what is going on. If you don't want to speak, you can type,
Mhm.
you can blog.
Mhm.
So these are avenues that allow you to share what is in your mind as far as what value you bring to the world. So on that basis alone, already communication becomes key. The skills are readily available. You can read in literature, you can watch videos, you can listen to gurus on the subject.
Mhm.
The key for me is that you are deliberate about the skills. Try them out. See what works for you, what doesn't.
Mhm.
See how you can adjust. Okay. Today you've learned something. Do you think it works or it doesn't work?
Mhm.
For instance, I think when I was in first year here, I had a colleague who was giving a presentation. So you know how you dress up, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we also used to dress up like you guys. He came to class dressed up in a suit, and he was game. He was giving out his presentation. But one thing I observed was him putting his hands in the pockets, like the entire time. You know how you put one hand in the pocket and then you're explaining using the other hand. Well, I bet he read or heard that somewhere that it works.
Mhm.
But in the context in which he was using it, it came out as arrogant or aggressive.
Mhm.
And most people do not want an aggressive style of communicating because it's as if you are pushy and you don't care about other people's feelings. And that's why we're resting so much on being assertive, because assertiveness means you're also taking care of other people's feelings as much as yours. You are aware of the context in which you're communicating. In short, you are sharing what we didn't discuss earlier though. emotional intelligence as you go about your communication.
Mhm.
There's a big difference between a doctor coming to you and saying, hey, you have HIV and AIDS, you're positive, and someone taking you through the counseling process first before they share the news. You know, I think if someone came into the ward and they're like, hey, you're positive, you'd think they're joking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of how they're sharing that relevant information. So even in the workplace, should a manager come to you and just say, hey, you're fired? Honestly, I'm thinking, I think you're joking. It's a sad joke.
Yeah.
And you guys are here doing so much of dark humor. I would honestly think it's part of dark humor in the workplace.
Yeah.
Yet he's sharing legit information that should be shared with the appropriateness, within the context and language that is appropriate for the message. So it's key that we do more study appropriate for self. So we can talk of the 10 tips that you can use, 15 tips that you can use. The tips may not work all the time because it's on a case by case basis. And that's I feel that's a lot of learning for individuals. So most of us want already a full package. It's packaged for us and you just pick it up and use it.
Yeah.
But that's not how we should approach that. Approach it from the context of you expose yourself to an array of options. From those options, select what works, what helps you present yourself the best. Okay? Because again, even under the non-verbal cues, we didn't talk much about dress, but how you dress is also key, isn't it? Yeah. You've learned why you wear suits when you're doing your presentations by now. Okay? And that is key. So we want to see you in the workplace. We want to see you as someone who's looking for employment or looking for an entrepreneurship opportunity to partner with others. And you're presenting yourself as the package that you think you are.
Yeah.
Because it takes you thinking you are that person before you can present to other people to buy into the idea. Because why would they buy into what they think you don't believe in?
What you don't believe.
Yeah. So I think on that note, I think I've overshared.
No, it's good to overshare. Yeah, and wherever you are watching us from, if you really want to actually communicate with different people, please, not supposed to use this because I don't know. Anyway, you have to care for the people that you are communicating to, and for the information to be heard and to be remembered. It's not really about how you talk to someone, it's about how you make them feel when you are talking to them or when you are communicating something. So I would just love to appreciate you and also appreciate wherever you are watching for you to just give us this time to watch our video. We really appreciate, and we are looking forward to add more value to you, and we are looking forward to be more valuable to you. And don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like this video and share the video to someone who can also benefit from this. Yeah. So until next time, until next video, see you in our next video.
Peace.